Well, it's moving day today. Okay, we're not moving, but our chickens are. Our meat chickens, the young chicks, have been living inside of a brooding pen that we set up inside of our greenhouse. I showed it to you in our first video about raising meat chickens. And we had hoped to move them at 3 weeks. But we've had some really unseasonably cold temperatures, and the nighttime temperatures have created frost. I didn't want to move them outside. But today has been beautiful. It's a little cool, but it's really nice, and we should be able to go ahead and move them out and have more moderate temperatures tonight. So we want to get them acclimated. So we're choosing a nice sunny spot this afternoon to place them. You can see the pens behind me, that's where they're going. So we're going to load them up in the greenhouse now, and everybody's going to work together to help get the chickens out and on grass. They love it on grass, so this should be a really good day for them. We have 120 chickens to move, and it doesn't happen quickly. So we got to work together to take a few loads. They're flying on us now, so they've been flying up over the barrier that we've created, coming into this little chamber. They get pretty crazy around this age. That's why we like to move them when they're a little younger. So they're a little harder to catch right now, but what we'll do is we'll just actually move our barricade in closer to them and kind of corral them toward the end and collect them. But the first thing we have to do that is start removing all of the feeders and the waterers. One of them is resting on top of.
7, 8. 9, 10.
Well, come on. Let's go. Train's leaving. Hey, kiddo, come on. Let's go.
Hi, Goose. Oh, you were thirsty, girl, huh?
All right, we're set up in here with our grain in our tray. We'll actually raise this from time to time as they get older. They do tend to sit in here a lot, but it's fine because we can flip it over and dump it out. My favorite part about being on pasture is that their waters won't be filled with chips every single day, so we'll have nice fresh water each day.
22, 23, 24, 25.
Well, the first 40 are here in the chicken tractor. We will split, the 120 that we have, we'll split between the two tractors, but we can only bring about 40 at a time in the crate that we have comfortably. So while the boys went back for the next run to bring them up, I wanted to show you why we raise Freedom Rangers. You can see while they have a tray of feed available to them, only a few are eating from the tray. Most of them are out here on the grass, and you can hear the snapping of the grass happening just as soon as we bring them in. That happens each day as we move the tractor too. They get on that fresh grass and they're so eager to have it that they're just snapping away eating it. We are looking for a production date of about 10 weeks. This is week 4, so they'll spend the rest of their life out here on the pasture. Nice green grass, fresh water and grain every day, and they really do like to range around. All right, well, before the rest of the chickens come back up, I wanted to show you where they'll be living. We have this really ideal pasture up here that we can use. It's actually a meadow, and a nearby farmer cuts it for hay for his animals, and he's already cut it, windrowed it, baled it, and taken it away. We brought our tractor up to give it an extra mow just to keep it nice and short. It makes it a lot easier to move the chicken tractors if there aren't clumps of grass to run over top of. And it's pretty level out here. So sometimes we have to move it a few inches forward or a few feet forward to adjust for the lumps, but it's generally pretty smooth, which is really ideal for us. They'll be able to move around on this pasture for about one move per day without ever having to hit the same grass twice. And actually we'll go to 2 moves a day. We'll move them morning and night. As they get a little older, they create more manure, and we don't want to have too much hot manure in any one spot because that tends to kill the grass too quickly. But even a few days to a week after we've moved them off of there, you can see green growth regenerating, and the pasture will be better because of these chickens being here. So we'll move them back and forth along this space, and we can zigzag and move the tractors around to be able to accomplish what we need. We have a couple obstacles that we put some stakes in there for that we have to be concerned with. But we have plenty of space out here to be able to move them around without any concern of having to run over the same place twice. And it really gives them a really great fresh diet of grass in addition to the feed that we give them. And they're well protected up here. They're close enough to the house that we can get out here pretty quickly and take care of them, but not too far away. So it's a relatively quick chore each day to be able to come out and take care of them. It's about 15 to 20 minutes in the morning, about 15 to 20 minutes in the evening. We bring out a bucket of feed, a bucket of water for each chicken tractor, and then we just pull them forward. My garden goose is coming over here to say hello. All right, you want to go get the gate for him? We'll bring the last ones in. We do tend to lose a couple. The process of moving the chicken tractors can create a little chaos at times, and sometimes you will unfortunately run one over. It's really, really helpful if you have somebody little. My youngest daughter is perfect for this because she can go inside and kind of help shoo them along so that as you're pulling it, we pull it manually so we can go it nice and slow, but sometimes it helps to have somebody who can go inside and make sure that they move along slowly and we don't run them over because those injuries do happen.
I need to turn around here so I don't hit the top.
All right, they're all loaded. When we buy our chickens from the hatchery, we buy from Freedom Hatchery up in Reinholds, Pennsylvania. It's nearby. I can drive and go get them, which makes it really easy because you don't have as much loss in shipping. I've heard some stories of friends who've ordered and they've lost all of them or half of them in shipping. So we're able to bring them all home safely. I know that I lost 3 in the brooder, and that happens for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes they just fail to thrive because they just weren't healthy chicks to start with. Sometimes it happens because of crowding. Chickens do tend to get themselves shammed into corners, and the little guy on the bottom sometimes doesn't make it. So you go out in the morning occasionally and find one. So I did lose 3. But I still have lots out here on pasture, and this is my favorite day. We can put them out on grass. It is so much easier to take care of them out here because nature does most of the work for us. They have lots of fresh grass. You can see I have a tray full of food inside of here, but they tend to go toward the grass because they enjoy that just as much, if not more. Our job now is to come each morning with a bucket full of grain and fill up their grain tray, and buckets with fresh water to fill up their water pitchers. We will switch grain. I have just switched to what's called grower. The grower feed that we get from the hatchery has a different protein level, and I will go get the stats on that and give it to you in the description so you can know what we get. But I started them out with starter feed. I've moved them to grower now that they're out on pasture at 4 weeks, and they'll stay on that until the last several weeks when we switch to finisher. And the protein amount is just different and for their growth rate to help them out. Freedom Rangers go to 10 weeks. Sometimes you can do less than that with Cornish Cross and other breeds that grow faster. These grow a little slower, but we sure like the flavor of the chicken a lot more. And I just like the nature of the chicken out here on pasture eating as much grass as possible. These chickens will be lively, happy, moving around inside this chicken tractor up until the day butchering day happens. And I think that's the best life that they can live. But we have enough space here out on this pasture to be able to move them around and not have to revisit the same spot twice. Probably the only downside to having the chickens in the greenhouse is that I struggle a little bit with temperature control. I have, as you can see behind me, one large fan that helps me. It's temperature actuated, and it'll open up and exhaust the greenhouse when we hit 95. And I have that set mostly for my plants. I don't really do it with the intention of the chickens, but sometimes it can't keep up with the heat. I've taken my shade cover off of my greenhouse for the time of year because it gets a little cool. I want as much solar gain as I can get, but it makes it a little warm in here for the chickens. So while this worked out well for us this year, we're thinking about a different plan for next year. The other downside is that it gets really dusty in here, and sometimes the plants are just covered with dust from everything the chickens dig up. I mean, they live on chips while they're in here. So I come in on a regular basis and spray down the plants, but it might be a little bit too much. This would be a really great place to plant peppers, and I may just allow this composted manure to become beds and put some peppers in here and build another situation for the chickens. I'm not sure yet. We threw this together quickly as a way to be able to set up for meat chickens this year. It's the first time we did it here at the property, and it really worked out very, very well. But if I'm not home to keep an eye on the temperature in here and to keep an eye on the fans, it could turn bad really quickly. So I kind of want to rethink that. But overall, it was a really great experience to be able to start them in here where I could keep them warm. I was able to set up their light and give them what they needed at night. And I'm already out here every day anyway, so I could be checking on them on a regular basis. We don't, as a family, do our butchering ourselves. We just decided not to invest in the equipment at this stage of the game, and we have found an excellent butcher to work with who has a mobile butchering system, and he'll come out with the truck and set up, and inside of 2, maybe 3 hours, he'll have all 120 chickens butchered for us on ice, and we can just take it from there. So I think I'll just keep on doing that because it's a system that works really well, and the price that we pay for us is well worth it to just have a couple of hours invested. It's funny how I mother hen them, and I feel like I have to come check on them a lot when I move them out to pasture. There certainly are some risks out here. Predators are the greatest risk, but we've done the best that we can. We've been through one very successful run with this system, so we know that that works. And then the other, I guess, risks are just that, you know, the cold temperatures. I intentionally waited an extra week because we wanted to make sure that they had the temperatures that they needed. And we also chose a day that we know it's not going to rain. It would be a big adjustment for them to come from the dry climate that's inside the greenhouse to a wet pasture. It's one thing to be cold, it's another thing to be wet and cold. So we wanted to choose a dry day that we know that they would be as healthy and happy as possible. So we're coming out here to take a look at them, and I can see they're really doing quite well. So unfortunately, we did lose 2 this morning. We found 2 underneath of a large pile of chickens over here along the side, and that does happen from time to time with chickens. Generally, they're done behaving like that by the time they're this age, but it was their first night outside, so acclimation can be tough, and weaker chickens will end up on the bottom, and stronger chickens will end up on the top, and they can be smothered. So that's an unfortunate loss, but it's actually kind of predictable that that can happen. So we just remove the water. The feeder goes right along with it, and we just step down at the same time to lift it up and latch it in place. Sides are up, wheels are latched in, and we'll go very slowly. They do eventually learn, but we go nice and slow in the beginning. The smart ones ride the feed tray, but it does help if you can kind of push them along a little.
We're doing good.
You can see the framework of where we were, and the outside corners are definitely the spots where we lose the most grass, but that will come back very, very quickly. But that's it. We've moved 1 position forward, and now we're just going to put the sides back down. We have to do this very slowly as well, because they do tend to want to pop out that space. Today they did great. Okay, first tractor's moved, and you can see we put the water back in, and despite all of the grain that they have, they're on fresh grass. We got a couple over here eating some grain, a few taking a drink, but that move went very smooth. Sometimes Occasionally they pop out the bottom here in the back, and we just let them walk out and we usher them back in when we're done. So we put our sides back down, protect it all the way around, and here it sits. Well, I was putting together my final edit of our part 2 of our meat chickens video, and unfortunately this morning we had a pretty big loss in the chicken tractors. We lost 7 of our chickens, and we experienced that loss. It's rough. So we spent the day today. We're actually getting ready to leave to go on vacation. It's frustrating to be doing that and making changes at the last minute. But we spent the day today brainstorming, and I think the thing I'm most grateful for as a mom is that we've raised our children to be really, really involved in what we're doing. And this project is a family project. So we put our heads together and we try to think about the best solution. We did our first run of raising meat chickens on pasture in the spring here at the property, and it worked really, really well without any issues. Unfortunately, this time that didn't work out. So we put our heads together and tried to come up with a solution, and we think we found a good one. So I'm walking out now. I can hear the mower going in the background. I'm walking out now to check in with the boys and see how they're doing. We've decided to add some electric, something we had tried not to do before, but we think we need to do now. After losing 7 chickens, you know it's time. So I think we're gonna have good results with this plan. And my son Jonas is out mowing right now. Adding electric means that we need to make sure that we don't short this whole thing out. So we're gonna ground this by making sure that we put a ground stake in, put our electric around the chicken tractors to keep whoever decided to dig underneath out, and we can't have any high grass sticking up in the way that would potentially cause a conflict or a problem there in the circuit. So I'm grateful for my son Ethan, who really jumped right in helping us find a solution while Dad and I were busy working today and trying to get things accomplished before we were leaving. And I'm going to walk out and show you what we've decided to do, and hopefully it's the right solution to allow us to keep our chickens safe. Alright, so here I am at the scene of the crime. We're really surprised to see how very little space was created underneath the chicken tractor that they dug underneath. So we've been really debating all day long, which doesn't really matter because what's happened has happened. What actually came in and got our chickens. And so it was a pretty small space. We're looking at a couple of inches, and the skirting that we had created where we dropped the sides down had worked well for us in the first round. Didn't work this time. So whether it was a weasel or a possum or a raccoon, I'm not sure. Well, here we are. We've been using the system for 2 weeks. It is working great. You can see we have a ground rod here, runs right up to the tractor, and this is something we purchased at Tractor Supply. It's a battery/solar power system that allows us to run electric current all around the outside of the chicken tractor. And anything that really wanted to dig here would easily be pushed away, getting a shock as soon as it starts to dig. We even saw a little digging around the bottom that stopped as soon as it got to the edge of the tractor. So you can see that at the top of the tractors, they're connected. There's this bungee cord system that's electrified. And when we turn the system off, we can go ahead and detach that and slide it over out of the way. We could go ahead and move the tractor and put it all back together and turn it back on when we're finished. It's actually a lot easier than the drop-down sides that we had. Let me What are you guys doing? Go back in.
Come on.